For May the 9th, 2016, I'm going to put the link to this article. Comes from Superstation 95, 95.1 FM, New York City. New York, United States of America. And I think you're going to find this alarming. ICE agent commits suicide in New York City, leaves a note revealing government plans to round up and disarm Americans during economic and bank collapse. This came out today, May the 9th. From their newsroom, May 9th, 2016. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. After writing a lengthy suicide note exposing terrifying plans the government has for American citizens, a U.S. Customs agent walked onto a pier in New York City and blew his brains out. Sources inside the New York City Police Department have revealed to Superstation 95 the contents of a suicide note found on the body, and they are utterly frightening. I'm going to share that with you in just a moment. The note, which says it was written over the course of a full week in advance, outlines why the officer chose to shoot himself. Here's one excerpt. We're going to have many more, believe me. From the note, the America I grew up in and cherished has been murdered by its own federal government. Our Constitution has become meaningless, and our laws politicized so badly they are no longer enforced except for political purposes, the note said. Our elected officials are, to a person, utterly corrupt and completely devoid of any love or respect for the country which pays them. To them, everything is about getting and keeping power and making illicit money from backroom deals. Let me put my phone on silence just for a moment so we don't have any interruption. The 42-year-old U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement deportation officer shot himself with a .40 caliber service pistol inside Pier 40 in Hudson River Park at around 11 o'clock a.m. A source at the scene described how the officer calmly walked into the park, took out his pistol, and shot himself in the head. And you'll have this article. A 42-year-old worker, the 42-year-old worked as U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement deportation officer, and his offices were nearby to the scene of the shooting. He was rushed to Lenox Hill Hospital. The doctors were unable to save him. ICE released a statement Friday afternoon. Tragically, a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE deportation officer from the New York field office suffered a self-inflicted gunshot wound and has passed away. It added, the agency is not releasing further details pending notification of the officer's next of kin. According to the suicide note, the officer said, here's another excerpt from the suicide note. I was hired to enforce the law to capture and deport people who come to this country against our laws. But now if I dare to do that, I face being suspended or fired because our president refuses to faithfully execute the duties of his office. Instead, I come to work each day and collect a paycheck twice a month for initially doing little to nothing. I cannot and will not be party to this fraud, to this assertion of the law, or to the despicable politicians betraying our nation, the note continued. Stay with me now because you're going to get the real heart of his note that he left before committing suicide in a moment here. ICE's Office of Professional Responsibility is reviewing the matter and coordinating with the New York Police Department on the investigation. The agent worked at a field office in Lower Manhattan, just blocks away from the scene of the shooting. Here he mentions FEMA camps for Americans. I want you to pay close attention here. This is from the suicide note. In the suicide note, the officer revealed what he claimed are terrifying plans the feds have been finalizing. Are you ready for this? Here we go. If the American people knew what this government is planning, they would rise up and overthrow it. If I or anyone else in the federal government revealed what is coming, we would be killed anyway. So now I will reveal what I know. We in federal law enforcement have been drilling for several years to control riots and uprisings from a coming financial collapse and widespread bank failures. The drills involve life-size images of American men, even women and children whom we are told to shoot for practice and to get used to it. We have been told that the economy is terminally ill and will fail in 2016. We are also told the banks are all insolvent and the FDIC doesn't have nearly enough funds to bail out depositors. We are told these events are unavoidable, and it is imperative that the governments survive when people rise up over this. When the collapse takes place, detention camps created under the FEMA Rex 84 program in the 1980s to house illegal aliens whom we were going to deport will instead be used to imprison American citizens whom the government feels constitute a threat. American citizens will be rounded up without warrants and imprisoned without trial for God knows how long. These camps have been equipped to carry out Hitler-scale killings, an actual purge of American citizens by the very government which they themselves created and pay for. I cannot be party to this. The note goes on to say, the government knows the military will rise up to stop this. So our military is being deployed overseas and intentionally involved in foreign fights so they cannot be here to help Americans. This is why certain ammunition and weaponry has been removed from state-level National Guard armories, and over 1 billion rounds of hollow point ammunition has been bought by federal government. And I want to mention, too, the downsizing. These are my words now, the downsizing by President Barack Hussein Obama of the military, reducing the military to a fraction of what it should be. It all makes sense. The states themselves have been disarmed of military-grade firepower so they cannot defend themselves from the federal activities. This is also why local police departments have been militarized and provided with armored vehicles and weapons of war, the note says. When the inevitable collapse begins to take place, electric power to the entire country will be shut off. Remember, this is a suicide note now. As will all forms of communication. All banks will be immediately closed. No one will be able to get any money because all ATMs will be offline. Credit, debit, and EBT cards will not function. Anyone without cash will have no way to get any. The emergency alert system will be used to take over all broadcast stations and tell the public this is a result of a cyber attack. They're going to blame that on a cyber attack. But while the American people patiently await things to get back to normal, the government will unleash roundups of citizens they deem militants or dangerous, with all civilian communications out and all TV and radio stations taken over by the emergency alert system. By the time word spreads of what is taking place, the government will already have the upper hand. Federal prisoners to be gassed to death. The note goes into a wide array of very specific plans and does so extremely specific detail about the feds and alleged planning. For instance, it talks about federal prisons. Every federal prison has been outfitted with lethal gas systems. When things go bad, all prisoners in all prisons will be placed in their cells on lockdown. Prison staff will depart the facility and a certain designated person will trigger a lethal gas system. All federal prisoners, regardless of their crime or their sentence, will be gassed to death in their cells. Once the gas clears, the dead will be removed and the prisons will then be used to house citizens who fight against the federal onslaught. Priests recruited to quell opposition, and I've done videos on this, so this is true. So intent is the government to succeed, they have recruited priests, rabbis, and clerics from various religions, to quote appropriate scriptures about obeying the government. They are being trained to tell people not to fight back and that their best hope is to pray. This is about the priest. Like I said, I've done videos on that, about the ministers and pastors all being part of Team FEMA. Executive Order 13603. The suicide note goes to great lengths about Executive Order number 13603, signed by President Obama on March 16th of 2012. The note details Executive Order Executive Order 13603 about National Defense Resources Preparedness. This 10-page document is a blueprint for a federal takeover of the economy. Specifically, Obama's plan involves seizing control of all commodities and products that are capable of being ingested by either human beings or animals, all forms of energy. Bear with me just a moment, I'm losing my spot here. Let me try to go back to where we were. All forms of energy, all forms of civil transportation, all usable water from all sources, health resources, drugs, biological products, medical devices, materials, facilities, health supplies, services, and equipment, forced labor or induction, as the executive order delicately refers to military conscription. Moreover, federal officials would issue regulations to prioritize and allocate resources. This is just, it's still quite lengthy, so I'm going to put the link to this below, but database of preppers, and it just goes on to explain what is written in this note from this person that committed suicide, this customs officer. And here's the headline again: ICE agent commits suicide in New York City. And he leaves a detailed note revealing government plans to round up and disarm Americans during the economic and bank collapse. It's supposed to take place this year, 2016. I wonder, could this be why they're so worried about Donald Trump as outsider businessman coming in? Because they have other plans. They don't want to make America great again. They have plans to bring America down. They want to collapse the economy. They want martial law. They want to round up American citizens and put them in FEMA camps and FEMA prisons, and bring back the guillotines and the gas chambers. Subscribe to my channel. Leave me comments. I'll put the link to this below.